All right, welcome back, everybody, to Get the Net. Been a couple weeks now. We're back at the house. Going to dive into a little bit of the tales from the road from the opens. A couple things that are going on here. Then we got Kyle Wood coming on, who's always been someone I've looked up to in the fishing world, and going to have a good chat with him. I met him down at the Classic. He's a beauty, and he's going to have some stories, and I'm sure we'll have a few laughs over it. So stick around, and we'll see you on the other side of the intro. Welcome to Get the Net, a fishing podcast that takes a deep dive into competitive events, fishing news, tips, tactics, and most importantly, interviews with some of the most interesting and in-tune anglers from Canada to the central U.S. We're leaving no stone unturned to bring you the most raw and authentic talk. My name is Jamie Bruce. While my resume says bass, my frying pan says walleye. I'm no stranger to the multi-species realm. Whether you're puttering on tackle, driving the bus, cutting the grass, or killing time in a 9 to 5, we'll try to give you something in every episode to take with you on the water, or at the very least, bring you a few laughs. All right, it's been a busy couple weeks. Just got back from Texas, Louisiana for stop number 2 of the Bassmaster Opens on Toledo Bend. Had a good time down there. Really fun place to fish. Never been anywhere like it in my life, and ended up having a decent tournament. Finished up in 18th. I never got my limit on the second day, so I fell out of the top 10 a little bit, but real good time nonetheless, and really can't ask for much more when you're driving 24 hours and showing up for a derby on a lake that's like nothing I've ever seen before. So it's all good there. I was glad I could just sneak away and just go fishing. Like, even if it wasn't a tournament, it was nice to just think about bass fishing. So that was a good time, and stayed at a rental with a bunch of buddies. We had Matt Rydberg from Kenora came down. Had a buddy, Devin Gurniak, help me drive down there and stay with us and set us up, and he did the co-angler thing. And we had a crazy Australian staying with us, a couple co-anglers from Wisconsin, Brad, Raz. We had the full crew going down on the bayou. Had a big flat on the Louisiana side of Toledo Bend. We had our own boat ramp and piers, and it was sweet. Just kind of never really left, just turned into part of the bayou. Kind of turned into Marsh Girl for a bit there. It was awesome. Really cool place to fish. It's not the easiest place in the world to get a bite right now, but man, had some 23 to 25 pound practice days. Had a 21-pound day in the tournament with 2 2-pounders. Like, there's freaking magnums there. The second day of the Derby, I had one big one, and then like a 3-pounder and 2 little rats. So I fell a little bit there, but that's fine. I ended up with some good points. I finished up in 18th in the 225 boat field, and moved my ass from 86th overall in points up to the 30s. So pretty happy about that. Puts the Elite Series dream back in my radar, and it's a long season ahead. So need a few more of those, and just kind of keep maintaining and playing the long game. But yeah, what a cool place. Congrats to Ben Milliken. I literally just finished up a podcast with him on Into the Great Wide Opens. We had him, Brad, Keith Tuma, so check that one out. Yeah, it was just awesome to see. He was, like I said, he was a point beside me a couple times. Had his huge flotilla with him, was throwing a glide bait bigger than my graphs on my boat pretty much. And yeah, it was cool. It's just one of those things where found the right fish and inexperience just kind of not being dialed down there. I mean, he lives 2 hours from the lake. He's used to those Texas lakes, and just ended up working them. I could barely catch one, and when I did, it was a good one. And yeah, he was wailing on him. So congrats, man. It was awesome to watch, and that's a big deal for quote unquote YouTuber to make the Bassmaster Classic and put himself in a damn good spot to make the Elite Series. So he's a good sport too. I was yelling at him, chirping him to get off my program, and telling him I should have taken my boat wrap off and everything like that. And he's he can take it. Good guy to bullshit with, and happy to be touring around with him this year, and watching it unfold. It's been a cool story so far, and just that tour life's been pretty cool. Like I said, good distraction too, and once in a lifetime experience. So thanks everyone who's been following along. I mean, it's been overwhelming. I think Gussie's win in the classic added a little bit of extra pressure. There's there's a lot of Canadians a lot more interested in bass fishing all of a sudden. So tons of messages, tons of support, everything like that. It's been fun. Bassmaster, even though I was only tied for 10th, they covered me like I was leading the damn thing. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, definitely could go for a little more of that and a few more big bites. So I'm heading back down at early May to do another one on Bugs Island. So it takes a little bit more prep. I'm into my wheel bearings now. I had one getting hot on the way back, so do some wheel bearings. Got to pretty much change my oil every time I get back on my truck, and getting pretty good at maintenance. But that's the way of the road, and I kind of pride myself on being able to do most of it myself. Of course, I say that I'm gonna probably blow my damn wheel bearing by International Falls, so hopefully she goes back together like it came apart. But anyway, yeah, we had a house full. Like I said, I pre-fished with the crazy Australian that Gussie met down on the Barramundi tour. He's coming over to do the opens. I've talked about him before on this. It's Tommy Wood. He pre-fished with me, as well as a buddy from Manitoba drove down, pre-fished a couple days. Yeah, had lots of laughs. He's living the full bass gypsy lifestyle right now. Plenty of laughs there. Matt Rydberg came down. He did well as a co-angler. He cashed a check, got a big 5-pounder on the second day, and that was pretty sweet to have all those guys there. And Tommy got 15th too, got him a check. Buddy in the house, Adam Rasmussen, was in third place after day one of the Derby with 26 pounds. Fizzled the next day, but still, top 25 finish. Brad had a good day one. Brad Leitner. He fizzled a little bit on the second day too. Actually, none of us got a limit on the second day, which is pretty wild, but that's just the nature of the beast. So definitely a good trip overall. Different part of the world for sure. She's deep and dirty. I mean, just getting around down there was unbelievable with the running lanes and standing timber, and I'll release a YouTube video that kind of shows how it was laid out down there. But it was wild. I'm happy to make it out there without hitting anything. Actually, Milliken, who won the tournament, hit one of the poles in the running lane and cratered his lower unit. So yeah, it's an experience for sure. I'm definitely not going to take how easy it is to run around here for granted anymore. But yeah, like I said, it's good to have the season back on track. It can be a really long ride home if you suck. Like you fall, I got 104th, and it was a drag home. I knew that wasn't a horrible finish because it sounds bad, but you do have to beat 121 other boats to even get that 104th place finish, and it's really not a flop. So happy that the bad one wasn't so bad, and hopefully that's the worst one for the year, and can keep at her. I did have I had some fortune. I had a 7-pounder I caught on the first day. I caught it on a 3/4 ounce Z-Man cross ice football jig with a 3.5-inch bat wings trailer, 20-pound suffix, 13 NV, and one of the new Inception slide reels. And I'll tell you why that's important in a second. So I hook the thing. Just this fight so hard there. It just goes screaming like a tuna. The suffix is just boing, stretching around the boat. So I run to the other side, and my co-angler, he's a good guy, but just was in the way, still had his line in the water. Even though I'd had this thing on for 10 or 12 seconds, customary, just kind of get the hell out of the way when there's a giant on. But he was standing there, and the fish came over. I had to like bear hug my rod around him to get around. He opened his bail, so his line wasn't caught on mine. The line ends up wrapping around my rod, wrapping around everything, me. So I'm like getting it out of here as I'm running this thing to the deck. And I'll show you this in a video too. And I got one hand on the blank of the rod, and this thing goes for a dig under the boat. And I only had one hand on it, so I couldn't get my thumb, to thumb the spool, which is common for a bait caster. They just don't really have good drags, and you kind of have to thumb it and do your own manual drag. Especially when these big largemouth take a dig. So I had no option to do that. Thank God for that click drag in the inception. Wasn't a fan of it when I first saw it. I just didn't like the way it sounded. But I'll show you in this video, and it just like it took off, and that could have been my whole season right there. I usually won't plug something unless I really believe in it, and that's a thing you're going to want to have. A lot of those new reels have the click drag. The G2 swindle reels got it, the inception slide. Yeah, it's something you're going to want to have if you're fishing a bait caster, because it could have been real bad. I've had well, people call me lucky because I've had 4 co-anglers this year. I think I'm the only boat that's had that. There's only been, between 115 and 125, I think, co-anglers in each tournament. So most guys are getting 1 co-angler per tournament, and I've somehow had 4. So, having a co-angler in your boat is a major disadvantage. It can be spun a few different ways, like maybe they'll show you bait or something like that. But I mean, just the way you fish these spots, you have to, if I'm fishing a deeper point, I have to fish the shallow part of it first and make sure there's no dumb ones up there. And if you're running spots to spot, you have to make sure they're sitting down with their life jacket done up. So you probably lose the ability to fish a couple spots in a day if you're fishing quick ones, just there alone, and then, like I said, just it's easy to look back and say, well, I would have caught this and I would have caught that. And you don't necessarily know that's true, but hoping that my good fortune comes my way, and maybe get a couple days of fishing on my own. I like fishing with people. I like sharing the experience, but when you're trying to make the top 9 out of 175 as some of the best anglers in the world, you need every single advantage you can get, and that just hasn't been happening yet. So maybe at the next one it'll be a free Lund. I think it's because there's 3 seats in the Lund that it's just so damn comfy. Like I might get 2 the next one. I might be expected to make a shore lunch. You never know. But yeah, no, it's all good for now. I mean, I'm down there fishing. Everyone else is stuck in the ice and living the dream. So I really shouldn't be complaining about drawing out a bunch of co-anglers. So yeah, we kind of run the co-angler haven. I think we had 6 of them staying with us at the last tournament anyway. So definitely entrenched in the co-angler subculture anyway. So I shouldn't be chirping. A couple things to touch on before we bring Kyle in here. Got to remind you to check out btfishing.com. We do still have Smeltinator jigs, believe it or not. We sold a pile of them. Tackle Warehouse is carrying them now. Omni has got them. We ship to the US as well. Sportsheadquarters.ca has them. They're all over the place. They made it almost overnight onto the Tackle Warehouse top seller list. We got a bunch of clean jigs in stock. If you haven't checked out the clean jig, we got a video on YouTube. Definitely worth a look there. It's a super innovative, swim jig for kind of doing that shallow deal. But yeah, the Smeltinator's turning into more of a household name around North America. So keep your eyes out for that. You better get some before everyone licks them up. We're keeping up right now, but that could change real quick. There's ice isn't even off the lakes up here. And yeah, pretty much every podcast I've done since they announced the Classic, I've said that there's a pretty damn good chance that it plays either for Gussie or Coop there. So, and big shout out to Powerhouse Lithium this week. All their pro staff, myself, Kyle Patrick, Ben Milliken, all in the top 20. Milliken won the Derby. He's one of the best live scopers there is. Make no mistake about it. And trust Powerhouse Lithium, 16-volt batteries for the graph, 36-volt trolling motor batteries. Then we got the Jumpstart lithium cranking battery. Check that out at powerhouselithium.com if you're in the US, and there's a whole big shipment heading to Lake of the Woods Sports if you're a Canadian. So I've been getting asked a couple times a day, every single day about them. Since I put them in my boat, they're the real deal, good value. Wouldn't promote them if they were junk, and they really have some innovative technology. And yeah, I mean, I put my full faith in them. So we're going to have RJ from Powerhouse on right away here, maybe in the next episode, and do a deep dive kind of into what you need. We usually don't do that many techie things on here, but I just get asked so many damn times, we got to cover it. So keep an eye out for that. That's Powerhouse Lithium, and definitely worth a look to check out the VMC Redline hooks. They're out in Canada now. You should be seeing them on the shelves. They've got some real high-end trebles and hybrid worm hooks and Nico hooks and weedless wackies and everything you need. Drop shot hooks. They're super high-end, still affordable, and exclusively use them this year. I took all the other hooks out of my boat, and that's what I'm using, and no issues there. They're just grab one, touch it, you'll feel what's going on. Don't really compare to the old, the old black nickel style or anything like that. They're just that much better. So they've kind of thought of everything on them. They, got a lot of input from really high caliber tournament anglers. There's resin covering some of the eyes. The way the hook keepers are perfect. The way the weed guards are on the weedless wackies are perfect. They're, they really covered all the bases. It's not just an overproduced run of the mill kind of thing. It's, you can tell a lot of thought's gone into it. I don't know how much time they spent on it, but it's probably pretty significant. So give that a look. That's the Redline hooks by VMC. And last plug, you'll see I'm wearing my big Sims puffy coat on tonight, mostly because it's the second podcast of the night. It's cold out. I've been sitting in the corner of the garage for a while, and I need to be warm. This is the jacket I reach for when I need to be warm. I'm getting soft from being down south and not ice fishing much, but this is the extreme jacket. There's an extreme pullover too that Ashley really likes, and yeah, I used to make fun of people that wore these puffy coats. Looked like they were wearing a garbage bag, and now here I sit, but I'm damn comfy and warm and a little bit stylish, if I do say so myself. But anyway, that's enough plugs. Let's get on the man, Kyle Wood. This outdoor content has been brought to you in part by Nordic Point Lodge. Located in northwestern Ontario, Nordic Point Lodge offers some of the finest fishing Canada has to offer. Whether you're looking for a family-friendly getaway or a corporate retreat, Nordic Point Lodge has you covered. They offer a luxury outdoor experience with 5-star service. Check out the description below for more information.
Oh man, is it working?
Oh yeah, how you doing?
Good, how are you, dude?
Good. Damn, you sound good.
Oh, crispy.
Yeah.
Usually
crispy. Sound like they're from underwater or like in a popcorn factory or good.
I know the pain, man. I know the pain.
Yeah, I believe it. How's everything going, man?
Good. It's not winter anymore, so that's sweet.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, yeah, for me it's not winter anymore.
Are you you're in Iowa now, right?
Iowa, yep. Okay. Right south of Des Moines. Yeah, I went fishing last week. Caught a bunch of bass, did all kinds of fun stuff.
In Iowa.
Oh yeah. Kyle Peterson from Wired came down and did a little filming, did a little playing around, catch some catfish, catch some crappies, catch some bass. That's really about it for you for what you got going on in Iowa.
Yeah, nice. And you're not really traveling around as much anymore, or how does that lay out?
Yeah, no. Now with the Rapala gig, or being the product manager for Rapala, I travel, but it's more to and from like our office in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And then, whatever, more regional work trips, right? Whether it's PD stuff, meeting up with Wheeler somewhere, we work on ice fishing stuff too, right? So go drill some holes somewhere in the winter. But yeah, way less than when I was with FLW / Major League Fishing.
Yeah, like you may as well have been on tour back then.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much.
Same lifestyle.
As much as those guys were on the road, we were right there with them. And Jody and Rob are still killing it. And that was a fun, whatever it was, 10, 11 years, something like that, doing that.
Yeah. And it was so much fun to watch too. And when I saw you at the Classic and told you, I was like, I'm a huge Kyle Wood fan. I
was like, no way. No way.
Yeah, you're being humble, but one of the big reasons for that is like a lot of the South kind of grew up on that old school Bassmaster thing.
Yeah.
You know, the Bob Cobb and all that, and a lot of Canada really didn't start watching you know, bass fishing until Gussie kind of hopped on the
Right.
scene, and you know, when that started, like you got all the eyes. I'm sure you guys could see the numbers like from Canada start to look down there, and
Oh, yeah.
FLW was on WFN, which was like the fishing channel up here lots too. So that was, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't even know what Bassmaster was really. I
Sure.
was like all over the FLW, and man, that circuit breaker series and the way you covered it, like everyone up here knows you, whether they bass fish or not. So
No, that's awesome. And it's a good point, because when Gussie absolutely, helped that push, but simultaneously we started seeing Austin Felix, Matt Steffen, Fighter, uh, dudes from Minnesota, Wisconsin, like the
yeah,
North.
Moyna was the
Moyna
original.
had been around, he'd been doing it for forever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like more and more guys. And now a guy from Canada came rolling onto the scene. And you're right. It just really kind of exploded and opened the door for a lot more eyes to view the sport of professional bass fishing. And circuit breaker was cool because we had, that was like the first thing to like document tournaments, right, and follow along. And it was, again, me growing up in Minnesota, it was kind of like, we had a little bit of a fresh look to really kind of peel down, like, so, what is bass fishing? What are these tournaments, and kind of like not dumb it down, but make it easier to digest for people that may not be familiar with tournament fishing, which was really cool.
It made a lot of people understand tournament fishing that weren't tournament anglers.
For sure.
Which really can't be said for a lot of things out there.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, a lot of them are just, especially nowadays. I mean, there's a lot of great ones, but it's just here. I'm a guy fishing, watch me fish. And then, that's your YouTube video, right? There's not a lot of backstory or that other angle. In the first season, it was Brett Carlson was the guy doing the commentary, and from then on I took over, and it just, that's a whole other dynamic that you just don't get, and it's cool because it's not biased really, right? You can hear from Polnick at the end of the day, talking about how good he did, how bad he did, whatever it is. But it's still from the one source. When you have this like third party thing that's covering the tournaments, understanding the whole, like everything that's at play, you can word it a little easier and make it a little more, like I said, digestible for people that are familiar with tournaments but don't understand it to that caliber, or maybe just don't know really who that guy is, right? Who that angler was we were following that season. You could shine a little light on it versus having Mark Daniels Jr. just sit there and be like, I'm Mark Daniels Jr., blah, 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 right?
Yeah. No, it was like in watching guys that were on the check line, like watching their phone and hitting refresh, and watching JT Kenny whipping rocks at the lake, crushing Keystone Lights. Like,
right.
It was just, man, it was, and actually your name came up and Circuit Breaker came up. We had Milliken on the Stray Cast show a few months ago, and when he mentioned he was going to document the opens, that's like Circuit Breaker is the goal. That's been the golden standard. It really hasn't been met yet. That's not all I'm going to talk to you about, but that's it's a big part of understanding tournament fishing. And even as a tournament angler, like I am glued to it. I gotta admit, I usually do a little bit of prep for podcasts, and I was like, all right, Kyle Wood, I figured I'd know enough about you, and I looked you up and ended up on Circuit Breaker, and I just watched that for a while. Like that was it. So
got a little sidetracked. That's no big deal.
So I'm not going to pull out any skeletons or anything from deep in the Google, because I just watched Circuit Breaker all damn night.
Perfect. that's perfect. And probably, and I think we talked about this at the Classic a little bit, but what a lot of people don't know about Circuit Breaker is that it was Travis Wavescorks was the guy that shot it, edited. I mean, he had a little help early on, But really Travis that was his baby. And Travis he was a freelance guy that had done some design work for FLW for a while. And he, one day we were talking about just how we can get new content for the website. And we were talking about video because Travis liked doing video. And he kind of said, like, what about, like a documentary? And we were like, yeah, what is it? Is it you follow a guy for a year? Do you just film it at the Forcewood Cup? How's that pan out? And he's like, well, I don't know. He didn't know anything about bass fishing, yet now he's a full-time design guy for FLW. And he's like, I'm really interested in what goes on. And I'm like, you're right. Like, there is a lot of stuff between practice hours, getting ready for tournament, whatever things, just random things that go on in tournaments. Like, there's so many other things other than, guy had a good event, cashed a check, guy did well in points, made the championship. Like that, on the outside, you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, okay, good for, Casey Martin, good for whomever. And, but yeah, without Travis and him being so far removed from fishing, it wouldn't have, Circuit Breaker probably wouldn't have been a thing. That was 1,000% his little brainchild that we kind of morphed and had some fun, kind of molding it into what it was, especially after we got a season under our belt and kind of learned how it worked and how to best get it all compiled. But, he was a one-man band editing the whole thing. So the one thing that was always funny was people would be like, oh man, when's the new Circuit Breaker coming out? I'm like, well, this, one guy that works on it, and you'd say that and people would be like, there's not, I thought there'd be, 10 people working on it. Like, no, it's just one dude and he's got to sync audio and color correct everything and blah, 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 blah. Like it's a whole production. But yeah, that was, shout out to Travis for that. Cause that was his baby.
Yeah, definitely. If I had the option back in the day to click on Circuit Breaker of whatever tournament or the actual tournament video, I would have clicked on Circuit Breaker first every single time.
Yeah. Yep.
So, that's cool, man. And then you did, you had the day 5 thing going too, which is super cool. Cause you got, for those of you that don't know that, the day 5 deal, hopefully I don't butcher this, is FLW tournaments, back in the tour days were 4 days long. And on the 5th day, they would go out with Kyle and he'd go pick up a rod with them and they'd go run whatever program they were doing and try to catch a damn bass.
Yeah, which was easier said than done a lot of times when a lake's for 4 days.
Yeah.
And especially, normally the guys that win, man, they leaned on them so hard the final day that, they're on spot D, E, F, Z, maybe, whatever. They're so far down the list of potential spots they could catch a bass. But no, again, it was another concept that just, okay, we write about it. We do a good job writing stories about it. We do a good job taking photos, Facebook Lives with the winner and whatever we were doing at the time. But, how can you take it to the next level and really show people what these guys were doing? Because it also kind of started when live coverage was a thing, but, it still was kind of, I would say, early on when day 5 got rolling. And that, again, Jody White, Jesse Schultz, they were the first 2 dudes to kind of think of it. We all kind of collectively came and talked about it. They executed the first one with, I think Hallman was the first day 5 on Okeechobee.
Oh, no. He only caught 2 bass that last day.
Yeah. And then they went out, and I think they had like maybe 1 bite on that day 5. But, again, it was also a cool way because from us as media people, working at FLW and then Major League Fishing, when you would cover a guy, we do top 10 baits and you could promote the stuff they use there. And this also was kind of a cool way for the anglers to continue to promote their sponsors and just, their own brand, right? Like, in a more chill setting. You watch a guy on live on the final day when he's fishing for $100,000 or $300,000 if it's the championship, right? Like, things are a little dicey. Some guys are a totally different creature in competition than they are just hanging out like right now, And day 5 was kind of a way to get those guys in a more relaxed setting. They'd already won. They don't got to worry about catching a fish. If they don't catch a fish, it doesn't matter. We got GoPro footage of it. We got live footage, of the final day or maybe previous days. So you also got to, I think, get to know the anglers, just kind of who they are a little more too, which was really fun. Just to, watch them break down the lake again. Cause obviously they're pros, so it's hard for them to like flip the switch into fun mode. They're still trying to break down and like, oh man, maybe we go run this pattern. Well, like, well, did you do it at all in the tournament? No, but I think we could catch them today. Like, well, okay, we can do that after we get everything shot, right? Let's get everything shot first, and then we'll go run, whatever crazy thing you think is developing on the lake right now. And that was a lot of fun.
Did you? I've been meaning to ask you this forever. Like, was there anyone ever like a couple hours late or like? Because obviously you win $100,000. They're tired after the fourth day, but I'm sure some of them let loose a few times.
Yeah, no, everyone was pretty good at showing up on time. Probably Justin Atkins, when he won the cup, was a rough one, I think, for both of us the next morning. The problem is when he won the cup, we also used to do the Forcewood Cup photo shoot, whether, it'd be stuff for the magazine, like could be a cover photo, could just be promotional stuff for the following year. But we shot that the morning after, and we had for years.
Right.
So Atkins wins. We're all having a good time. And it's like 2, 3 in the morning. I don't know. I'm like, all right, dude, remember, you got to be at the lake tomorrow at like 7 a.m. or whatever time. Yeah, it was probably 7 because they wanted to shoot like first light in the morning. But he won throwing a topwater over this cane pile. So we wanted to go film and have them shoot later or do like an evening, right? Like these photos, we don't even need to shoot them now. We could hire this and, get a freelancer to go do it 2 months from now, right? A month from now. We don't need any of this. So we rolled up to the ramp in the morning, just in semi-rough shape. A lot of caffeine being consumed, a lot of water for hydration, and they shot what they needed, but it was so foggy that they were getting frustrated that the light wasn't good. And I'm like, dude, we can crush them. So we went out and we caught like the very tail end of that bite, but he lost a great big one, like a 7-pounder or something like that, right away, first spot, like first cast maybe, and then I caught a couple of 5s. And that was it. Bite was done. It was like 9:30. The fog disappeared. Game over. So then we were mad that if we would have had an extra hour or whatever it was when we got to the ramp and they were trying to force these Forcewood Cup champion trophy photo things, we would have smashed them. But instead we caught a couple and,
I knew there had to be
we were
one.
at least there and we've made it, which was, really the biggest win of the whole day was the fact that we both showed up to the ramp.
Yeah. Gussie said he was late for the day after classic shoot by a little bit. I think that was pretty understandable.
Yeah.
Like he was half an hour late, pretty pale, but
well, and for day 5, like we'd always we'd give the guys an option, right? I let them pick whatever time. If you want to meet at the ramp at noon, that's fine. If you want to meet there at 4 p.m., whatever, man. And everyone was always, I would say for the most part, pretty punctual, like unless whatever, you had to stop and, a lot of guys would forget they didn't gas up the boat or charge the batteries.
Right.
So, there'd be like a little hiccup like that. But no, really, the Atkins Cup was probably the most, I mean, it wasn't late, but just from a standpoint of like, whew, this is going to be a rough one in the morning. That'd probably be it.
There were a couple times where you'd light the guys up too on their own program.
Yeah, it was, so the one that comes to mind is Brian Latimer on Seminole.
That was when he was flipping those big grass mats.
Yeah, he was flipping the clumps of grass, and I'm like, dude, this is just like at home, But the whole time he flipped braid. So when we were gonna shoot, I said, "Hey man, you got a fluorocarbon rod?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a couple rigged up in the box. Like, you mind if I know you didn't really use it, but you mind if I flip that thing around?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So same weight, same hook. Just 20-pound fluoro instead of like 50-pound braid or whatever he was flipping.
Yeah.
And I was crushing him. And he looked around, he's like, "Man, I should have flipped fluoro." I'm like, "Hey, you won, so whatever, it's no biggie. It's all good."
That's
But,
just how you know you
next time-
found a really good spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Super juice area. But next time, just flip back through with some fluoro once and just see what happens, you know?
That one actually came up just not long ago. Ish Monroe was making fun of him for flipping on a crankbait rod. Said he had a big crankbait rod with that braid.
Yeah, it was a super, I wouldn't call it a
Moderate.
crankbait rod, but it was super parabolic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know how you can chirp a guy that wins, but they were.
Right. Yeah. Like, hey, man, a W is a W.
Yeah.
And he only lost like one fish the whole week, which is pretty good for, you know, a 3/4, 1 ounce weight.
Yeah. That'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was fun to watch. Man, obviously that lifestyle is, it's not real easy. Like I'm just starting to see it a little bit and it's definitely not for everyone. I'm assuming that's why you moved over to the Rapala deal, or just try something different, or I mean, you kind of have that personality that seems like it should be in front of the camera the whole time, but obviously you got other plans.
Yeah, it was yeah, you know, like life happens, right? Like, because I started with FLW like second year out of college, I think.
Grunt jobs, like, did you start just from the bottom? And
no, I started right as a writer, which is funny because I do not like writing. not even a little bit.
Right.
But you know, when you write about you know, fishing or hunting or stuff you're passionate about, it's a lot easier to do. But like in, you know, high school, college, when I had to write stuff, it was like, oof, oh, this is gonna suck. This is gonna suck.
They got Chat GPT now. You don't have to write anymore. You just
see.
Good thing you didn't learn it real great.
I know. And then I found out, you know, there's editors and stuff. Like someone will make it sound a little better. But yeah, no, I started as a, I guess I think it was just a web editor, or no, staff writer. That was my title, staff writer.
Yeah,
so like
work.
Not bottom of the bones, but that was not bottom of the barrel. But when I started, FLW had like magazine and website, and they were like two different entities. So you had writers for each, and now it's kind of all one thing, or especially towards the latter years of FLW before Major League Fishing Bottom, it was just one big blob of editors and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess I kind of climbed the ranks, although it was more of like you know, oh hey Kyle, you know, you're pretty good, you mind doing this? Oh hey, can you help do this? And it just kind of kept snowballing into whatever. I don't even know what my title was when I left, but it was basically the same thing. I just had more stuff to do. Yeah. Whatever you needed done, I'll do it. Yeah, because it wound up, yeah, we were doing, yeah, you shoot photos, you help produce video, you write stuff, obviously covering tournaments, but you write a little for the magazine, you write a lot for the website. Jody and I had the podcast. I guess it was the FLW Bass Fishing Podcast. I don't think it's just the MLF Bass Fishing Podcast now, but yeah, we had all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was super fun, but like you said, it's such a, you know, so many days on the year from like January to June. Like that whole block of time is just tournaments. If it wasn't an FLW tour event, it'd be a Toyota series event or a Costa or, you know, whatever they were at the time. And just boom, 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 boom. And then you look up and the Forest Wood Cup's here in August, and then Toyota Series Championship in November. And next thing you know, you're resetting to start doing it all over again. And now I got a 2-year-old daughter, and wife's less happy about me being gone all the time. Plus, I love traveling with the buddies to just go on like, you know, our own little fishing and hunting trips. Yeah. So you do all that mixed in with being on the road all the time, and it just slowing the brakes a little seems a lot nicer. You know, now I'm a lot wiser in my older age.
Right. Yeah. I like it. And I mean, it's not like you're crunching numbers in a cubicle right now. You got a pretty badass gig now.
Right. Yeah. I sit here at my desk every day, get to talk about, you know, fishing lures and what makes them do stuff, and how to make, you know, new fun things for Rapala. Talked to
Mm-hmm.
Finland. So all kinds of cool things.
Yeah. Are you like, have you always been a tinkerer
A
of
little bit.
tackle?
I wouldn't say I'm like a, not like a diehard, pick a bait. I got to tweak it or modify it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely love messing with tackle.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's like some of this stuff. Well, we're up here. Some of this stuff, there's some DTs and some other things that, I've kind of tried weighting or modifying. There's some other, it probably started like tip up fishing for pike, making my own quick strike rigs.
Yeah.
Like early high school when I first was like, okay, so if I take this swivel and this pound test fluoro and like these two different treble hooks, what can I do? And then it obviously you start, open water fishing, and I fished a lot of stuff in like college tournaments and, just podunking around Minnesota kind of stuff. And, you just try to find stuff that improve your hookup ratio or whatever it is. And, next thing you know, you're pulling stuff apart and putting it back together and trying to see if you can get more wiggle out of something, less wiggle, more shimmy, less shimmy, whatever, tying my own, treble feathers on treble hooks, or just tying your own hair jigs, right? Like smallmouth hair jigs have blown up in popularity the last, whatever it's been, 5 years, probably, maybe more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a way to pass time in the winter, right? Sit down with your vise and just start tying jigs for whatever, your buddies, try a new color combination, try a different hook, or a different jig, and so yeah.
And I used to be so hair jig flush back, and I used to work night shifts all the time and would just tie them all night. Like, would do 20 or 25, like just hand tied beauties in a block. So, a dozen a night. And it's all my wife uses in a tournament is the hair jig. Like she's a little more versatile now, but that's all she would use before. And Pike got a hold of one, and these are like, if I sold them now, they'd be $10.
Right.
And if a pike got a hold of one, she would just grab her line. She saw me do it a few times, just grab her line and just snap it off and let it swim away. She would do that like about 8 times a day. And I'm just like, every time you pull that trigger, it's like 10 to 15 minutes of my life.
Right.
She's just like, oh, whatever.
Slaving away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I get it. That's I used to when I'd want to procrastinate studying for an exam in college. I'd tie hair jigs, whatever, tinker with stuff. Tinker with tackle is my way of like, I don't really need to study for this right now. I can probably pull a box out, mess with some stuff, or I got to put new split rings on that crankbait. I should probably do that, or whatever it is. That was a fun excuse for not studying.
Yeah, and little did you know that'd be your full-time gig instead of whatever kind of bullshit you're studying for.
Right. Yeah, my animal science degree, really doing a lot right now.
Yeah, no kidding. So are you mostly like taking the input and taking the other products that come across, or are you like trying to work with the anglers to actually make like and innovate new products? I'm sure a little bit of both.
Yeah, so because obviously Rapala, our home office, or where it started, is Finland. So that's where a lot of our engineering is done still. A lot of our lure design. So you need that middle ground, someone between Finland, where they're executing the bait or making them, and where the ideas are coming from. So, whether it's pro staff, whether it's sales guys, whatever it is, like you got that middle ground. That's basically where I come in. So if, let's just say, Ott Defoe, right? He's got a new OG something he wants to come up with. Ott can tell me what he wants out of it. Obviously, may not be a great example because Ott's really good at just making his own crankbaits to begin with. But point is, he can say like, I think you should have this, 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 and this for dimensions, and I really want it to have an action that's like this. Well, that's really hard to translate to Finland. But because, the years of covering tournaments and just talking to anglers, like you get pretty good at understanding what someone's trying to get across and then how to convey that, to a whole different dialogue. So if you, write an article with whatever, Wheeler, and the dude's just rattling stuff off. If you just had a normal person try to absorb that information, it'd be like a sensory overload. There's too much, but you kind of funnel it down, give like the whatever the cliff notes for it, and then that way when Finland makes the thing, we get it back to look at it. I can check it first and go, oh yeah, this is kind of what I was looking at, or oh yeah, this is what Wheeler wanted. Fighter's going to love this. Swindle, really wants a little more, whatever it is, out of this bait. And it just kind of speeds the process up. And it's I don't want to say new for Rapala, but it's kind of, they haven't ever had someone that had a lot of that bass fishing background with the pros. Like most of our Rapala pro staff, I've either known for 10 plus years or at least have, interacted with enough that they feel confident they can, talk to me and know that I'm not just some guy sitting behind a desk that, might, not get their idea across or whatever it is. Right.
Yeah. I'd imagine that's a huge problem for a lot of, especially big companies.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's, fishing companies for sure, no matter who it is, Rapala, same way. There are a lot of people that don't fish. Right. And that's just how it is. When you're a bigger company, you need people to do certain jobs. But there's certain jobs that I feel like it just makes life a whole lot easier if you do fish. That'd even be the same way for, whether it's BASS or Major League Fishing, right? Like doing writing stuff, like the fact that was part of the reason I got hired, not to go back down the time, but when I interviewed, they made me watch, I don't know, did you ever watch Rob Newell's real-time reports? It's like little, right, post interviews after each day. And we had to watch one and then write an article. They gave us 45 minutes after the video was done to write an article that had to be, I can't remember what the word count was. I think it was 1,000 words, 1,200 words, something like that. But you had to basically write what happened in that in like a top 3 patterns kind of a article. Well, all the people that I interviewed were like newspaper writers or had come from a more, editorial background, but none of them fished. So no one picked up that Ayler was dragging a, 5/8 ounce football jig and tipping it with a, whatever, Yamamoto, like cowboy grub or whatever, right? Like people just kind of went over the top of their head. But when you get people that understand it, it just makes it so much easier to do the job. And this particular one at Rapala seems like one that fits the bill for, understanding fishing and especially understanding how pros talk, how they, a lot of times they'll throw stuff at you and there's a lot, but you only need to know like this much of it, but you get this much in each conversation and it's all good. But for whatever particular thing you're talking about, there's like one little nugget always buried in there. That's the juice.
Right. And I'm sure it's a lot easier for them to tell you that, like if a bait's like clopped out or it's garbage, it's easier for them to tell you that it sucks versus sure. Someone that's making big decisions is not worried about whether a crankbait runs this way or whether a hook has this keeper on it or anything like that. They can just tell you, hey man, this thing's a piece of garbage. Here's why. Make these changes and not have to worry about getting cut the next year.
Right, exactly. No, that's 100% accurate.
Yeah. I probably criticized too many on the other side of that, like maybe that weren't as receiving just because I like tinkering and I'm heavy into the baits and if something isn't as good as it could be, I always remind someone. But
yeah,
I feel like it'd be pretty easy to remind you of that.
No doubt.
But no, you guys are coming out with some great stuff. I don't want to turn this into a Rapala commercial, but I was talking about the red line hooks earlier and just, the push and quality. It's pretty clear that Fider's one of the most anal guys there are. And not on the surface, but behind the scenes, like I'd imagine that's why there's resin over the hook keepers or like over the eyes and a lot of things from all those guys. And you can definitely tell. I don't know if it's since you started or or I know
No,
Quinn's heavy into it too, and it's you can see it growing in the right direction. Like it's definitely one of the best companies to be sponsored by, because they've got everything that's like everything usable now. You don't have to just take one from here and one from there. She's all good.
No, yeah. Redline was that was rocking and rolling when I started. But you're right. Quinn, you know, from him working with the pro staff, he's kind of that middle ground, for VMC. And it just kind of, I don't want to say it's going to, I don't want it to sound bad, but like there's now, more light being shown on like the bass fishing side of Rapala. Because growing up in Minnesota, right, like you throw a shad wrap, troll a shad wrap, and catch a walleye. Or like on opener, which is whatever, second week of May, you could flatline troll original floaters at night and catch walleyes up shallow. Like that was it. But it was walleye stuff. And for good, or multi-species, right? Pike love them too. But there's always kind of been like some of the colors weren't there and stuff. And VMC kind of, I think, same approach to an extent. Like, we'll have your hooks you need, but it's kind of, really good quality, pretty good price point. And now Redline's just, that's kind of I think it rounds out the whole offering, and they are wicked sharp. I mean, every single one of them things is not fun to like stick your hand in a box and try to pull one out, because they'll stick you, dude.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I'm really happy about that. So, but yeah, man, what's next? What do you got cooking?
Oh man,
I know I can't ask you that.
We got all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's it's gonna be a fun year. I think fun next couple of years. I know some stuff's already kind of starting to like leak out, but ICAST should be a good one this year. It's going to be pretty sweet.
Okay.
That I don't know. Did you see that video clip of Wheeler at the Cherokee Douglas BPT, that bass he released, and it swam into the red lines and pulled his whole rod into the water? You see that?
No, I think you were telling me about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that was also on our new jerk bait that we're coming out with too. So doubly goodness. But unfortunately he lost the whole thing. And a rod. So if anyone's fishing around there, go
could he have weighed that if he got it back in? Mind you, it might not have helped now because it's 5 fish.
I don't know if that would count as like bed fishing, where you can only catch it once per day, and like you knew it was there, but it caught itself. So I don't know. You'd have to text Jody for official rules, or like text Kevin Hunt or something to see. Get a tournament director on the line for that.
Yeah, well, that'd be interesting. He lost the whole package though, huh?
Yeah, the whole thing gone.
Yeah, but I gotta dial that up. I saw a picture of those new jerk baits too. I gotta get a leg up. I want to be the only would like to be the only person in the opens casting one of those. So
I think we might be able to find a couple laying around. There's some I don't know. I think they're over here off camera. There's a whole bunch of them right here.
Good, keep them there.
Yeah. Next time you swing through, you just stop by the house and I'll throw a couple in the boat for you.
Okay. I actually have to drive. I think I just drove through Iowa.
I imagine you come right down the center of Iowa for a fair
pretty
amount.
Often. Yeah, pretty often. I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, hit me up.
Are you still like you're obviously a big fan of the sport.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Being in it like that, are you a stats guy? Do you follow it real closely? Are you still watching every little thing, or did you kind of cool it a little bit on that?
So I think I definitely toned it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of like it was such a whirlwind getting thrown in the Rapala gig that it was like a whole overload of other fishing information. You know what I mean? Like I was in the tournament coverage scene for so long. That's like
small bubble too.
Right. And then all of a sudden, now it's like Rapala lures as a whole, right? So you're talking saltwater, you're talking, panfish, you're talking walleye, pike, bass, like the whole thing. So I've toned it down a little bit, but I'm still an absolute freak. I normally just like I'll just go straight to the source. Like I'll text for MLF stuff. I still text my buddies, that are covering the tournaments, Rob and Jody, and be like, hey, what's the deal? What's this guy doing? Oh, is he fishing that point? Oh, I knew it. Like, just some of that stuff can't get enough of. And then obviously, yeah, any of the tournament, the opens, I'm an addict for it.
Yeah. I could see that. It's consuming.
Yeah. Like there's all my tabs open right now. It's like, a couple BASS stuff, a couple Major League Fishing tabs. I got 2 different tabs for Angler of the Year for the elites and for the BPT. Like it just, that and that just stays there, right? And then I'll just build tab whatever I need for work outside of that. But those are just like on a constant refresh, or at least just living there for me to mess with if I need.
Right. Well, what do I need to know about Kerr Reservoir? Got any juice on that?
Oh man, I covered I think it was a Rayovac. Might have been an Everstart. That was like one of the first AAA tournaments I covered.
Early 2000s?
Yeah, it would have been 2000, probably 12.
Okay.
I think somewhere in there. And it kind of sucked back then, but I think it's a lot better now. from what I've heard. Well, like, sucked would be like a 2.5, 2 3/4 pounder would be like pretty dang good one.
Good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably still is.
It probably is, but I know like tournament weights, some of the BFLs that have been there the last few springs, like you're starting to see weights flirting up near like 20 win it, 19 and some change. Normally be kind of you might see like 2 weights at the top stacked like 18 something, 19 something.
You are entrenched in this. If I can just throw a random ass lake at you and you can tell me the BFL stats from 6 years ago.
Dude, that's like all you look at for forever, just constant deep dive into what's going on in this lake. What do I need to know about this lake?
Well, that's cool, bud. I'm going to use you as my chat GPT for lakes on limits.
Yes. Heck yeah, dude. I'm in.
Sweet, bud. Well, I'm not going to hold you for any longer. It was cool of you to come on, bud. There's going to be a lot of people up here that are going to be, pumped up to hear you again. And man, I'm going to watch every circuit breaker now, probably for the next few nights. I'm consumed in it.
I talked to Hallman at the Classic, and he said that when he wins an elite, he wants me to come down and we'll do like our own day 5 for his YouTube channel. And I was all about it. John Cox is the same way. He'd love to have me back when he wins another one.
I was going to say, you got to be like the godfather to his kids by now. You spent so much time with him on day 5.
Yeah. We've grown up together for sure. I got a lot of fun John Cox stories I don't think are quite maybe appropriate for this, but maybe next time. Maybe next time.
Okay. Yeah. Might have to clear him with him.
Yeah. He's pretty laid back. None of them are too bad. They're just kind of.
Well, the platform's accepting of them.
Yes.
Let's hear one.
Oh man.
I won't put you on the spot. If you don't want to, don't do it.
My favorite John Cox story. I may have to clear with him, only because it has one few bad words and some inappropriate, activities involved in it.
Yeah.
So
no worries, bud.
We'll get it cleared, and yeah. So if any Elite Series guys, BPT guys, invitationals, whatever it is, if you need to make your own day 5, I'm here for it.
You should start like a Cameo account and just do day 5 for guys.
Dude, I should.
Hell yeah, you should. I'll be your first customer. I'll do you
Yes.
day 5 in like a walleye tournament up here or something.
Frickin' rights.
There you go. Next
Yeah,
idea.
dude.
You weren't busy enough.
No, yeah. Let's. I could take a few more things. My wife would love it.
Yeah, cameo, Kyle Wood. All right,
Boom.
bud. Well, man, much appreciated. Give me a shout anytime if
Absolutely.
you want to test some ice fishing baits or whatever. But I'll keep in touch next time I'm cruising through, and we might have to link up.
Yeah, dude. Worst case, if you need a place to crash, you're tired of driving or whatever, always got a room for you.
Appreciate that, bud. If you're ever heading to Nunavut or the Northwest Territories and you need a place halfway, wheel in as well.
I love it.
All right, pal.
Thanks,
have
dude.
a good night. Appreciate it.
Later, man.
See ya.